Hey everybody, this is Jim at SP500chart.com. It's Sunday afternoon, a little bit before 3 o'clock, and this is the best opportunity for me to do the video. I kind of sometimes like to wait and see what indication of any thing we get from the futures market, but honestly on a Sunday evening you can get thrown for a loop doing that. So we're going to do this now. Before I get into it, I just want to remind you that the website and the video are for educational purposes only, and nothing stated at the site or in the video is intended to be used as investment advice. I can draw lines on charts, but you have to draw your own conclusions from your own research and make investment decisions that are suitable for your personal financial situation. I am not a licensed financial professional. I'm just a guy who draws lines on charts. So let's take a look at the broad picture and then narrow it down to the week, and then specifically talk about what took place on Friday. Okay, if we start out here on a daily chart, you can see a couple of things. First off, even though we don't see the very first date of this blue line, this line actually goes back to the lows of March of 2009. Well, what the heck? There it is. So we have March 2009, October 2011, and then November 2012. We've got a couple bottoms that happen that are not on that line. But those three do line up, so I think that's definitely worth keeping. Then we have this red line up here, which has two touches in 2010 and 2011 and has not had another touch since. I think that's worth keeping too. So looking at our daily chart, you can see that we had our November lows and then our June lows, and we then established our teal colored or turquoise colored line that we've been referring to a number of times on the chart. Now that's important because we touched that line this past week, late in the week. Now, in all fairness, sometimes these things do not line up perfectly, and you can see that that is the case. Back in late August and early September, actually our first trading day of September was the 3rd, wasn't it? Well, whatever, it doesn't matter. There, you can see there was a little test of that line that went a little bit below it. But here, it looks like we're getting a pretty decent bounce. So, remember, we were in this mustard-colored channel. Then we started to come down in what looked for a while to be like a wedge, but later we recognized it more as a standard parallel channel. As we look at what happened a little bit closer up, there's that channel. It broke out, it back tested. It came back again, and then it actually got back down into that pattern just a bit and tagged that turquoise line. At the same time, tagged the extended neckline from that funky head and shoulder pattern that we never got a right shoulder on. Okay, came down to that line, we came down to that line, and additionally we came down to our level of the gap up that took place back on the 10th of September. So we mentioned before we hit Friday that even though we saw a little bounce there, it looked like a pretty good place for the market to follow through. So as the week went, we knew we were getting close to these support lines back on Monday, even though we gapped down. By then, after Monday, we knew that we were dealing with a channel and not the descending wedge. So we sort of had it that once we got over this top line, that should be setting up the end of this downward move. And you can see that we were pretty solidly down for about 8 days. And then once we got up over that line, we essentially went sideways, even though we set a new short-term low on the 3rd. That low tagged those 1, 2, 3 reasons why I think we would get support. Now, the one thing that didn't happen was we thought that this might be a little head and shoulders here, serving as a continuation pattern. And if that was the case, then our target actually would have been down around 1666. But we bounced before we got there, and I would not be too worried about that. However, that said, in order for me to feel really better about this not making that target, I would really like to see this week very early. I would like to see a move above our last line of resistance, which really was almost hit 3 times. I've got this little descending line here, and by the way, what does this maybe look like? Left shoulder, head. Are we going to forego the right shoulder and just head on up again? We've been doing that, I think, about, I can say it, at least 3 occasions when the S&P looked like it was making an inverted head and shoulders pattern, and it just didn't do the right shoulder. But there are a couple of interpretations here. This could be an inverted head and shoulders. This could be an inverted head and shoulders with this as a neckline. But the moral of the story here is, at least for now, it appears that the market wants to get up and out of this downtrend and is hopefully, if you're a bull, in the process of making that turn where we sit today. So coming into this week, once we bounce there on Thursday, we really need to see at least a little follow through, but I would think pretty early this week we need to get on up and challenge 1700, or we run the risk of just going out sideways and then possibly putting more pressure on this turquoise line, which at some point in time is going to break. So for right now, I think we take it at face value. Rising channel, descending channel, breakout, and then working out whether or not this is going to be a turnaround to the upside, or whether we need to test some support levels down here. What I would use as the gauge, again, you've got these 3 lines that are pretty close to each other throughout the week. If we significantly break under these 3 lines at any point, then I would say the market is telling us that we need to go back down and probably retest 1600. If, on the other hand, we get on up over 1700 and take out over this line right here, then I think that's the market telling us, you know, we're ready to power on up, challenge the mid 1720s, and if we get over that, frankly, guys, there's a lot of blue sky, if you know what I mean. There really are no significant trend lines where we would expect resistance. If we can get up to, say, 1730, 1740 in the next couple of weeks, then I think the S&P could very easily head for the 1800s. So it's sort of like we're in this area where we've got a number of support lines and we've got a number of resistance lines, and if you look closely, you'll see some of them converge in the weeks ahead. So we're either going to break this and head down to around 1600, or I think we're going to break these and head up to 1700. 1750. And then we're going to break this and head up to 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 1800. 18 significantly to the high 1700s or even 1800 and beyond. So let's, even though I didn't watch the futures, let's see, by the way, for as far as short-term resistance, let's just keep these two little gray lines here. I think they could provide some resistance just based upon what took place over the past 3 or 4 days. So guys, that is the weekly review video and looking at trading for for the day and week ending October 4th, 2013. I want to thank you for your support. Hey, if you're not a member of SP500chart.com, let me tell you what you're missing. I release all the videos I do on the S&P to the general public, but they all get turned loose on the weekend of the week that was before that weekend. So if you would feel like there would be any value in seeing these videos on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday in a timely fashion, it's only $19.90. It's only $19.95 a month. So look, think about it. Even if you don't, thanks for watching. Take care.